Where did this happen?
Our present situation, Prabhuji, at Capital.
At the Capitol Hill. So you expect to see this kind of stuff in third world countries. Now that has come to the first world country. Tear gas, fighting, hitting each other. Damaging art. So these are all the people they are trying to fix the art. So on the right side, House chamber, there was like a lot of fighting. And then in the Senate chamber, the vice president was escorted out. Tear gas in the rotunda, which is the main building. Pretty horrible situation. Here is one of the senator trying to hide from the mob. He's probably not used to seeing a mob. So, and many of these people are not even Trump supporters. There's just like general troublemakers who joined the gang. So, yeah, situation in the material world is never proper. There's always something going on. They even bought a ladder with them. You see that? To climb the building. At least I didn't expect this to happen in America. Somebody bought like a little thing to break the building, or at least the door. And they're all well dressed. You see, there's sweater inside, there is Gore-Tex outside, so that the cold doesn't trouble them. So yeah, this is what's happened in America. Unthinkable, unthinkable. So that is why we learn Bhagavad Gita, to understand why these things happen in the world. So anybody remembered where we stopped off last week?
We completed till 15, I think.
15, right? That's what I was thinking. Okay. So 15, let's revise that. Chapter 15, Krishna says, neutrality, right? If somebody is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both. Right now we are seeing a lot of distress. Corona-induced distress, politics-induced distress. Some of the people have been laid off. So joblessness-induced distress. There is always something going on in the material world. So Krishna says that we have to be neutral, steady, not disturbed by happiness and not disturbed by distress. That is a quality that is required of a devotee who is serious about making his life perfect. Not for everybody. Most people will just keep on fighting like this. So Srila Prabhupada also has a term for that, like cats and dogs. So Srila Prabhupada's term is like cats and dogs. So this is what we are seeing right now, like cats and dogs. People are fighting against their own country. So this is like cats and dogs. doing all these kind of things. In America, of course, we saw this in a lot of places. Like I'm from Hyderabad, in old city Hyderabad, these kind of things used to happen all the time. But now it's happening here in America. So human life is not about living like cats and dogs. Cats and dogs, you don't require any much intelligence to do that. So Srila Prabhupada says, one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts sannyasa order in spite of all the difficulties. So sannyasa doesn't mean that, buying $10 orange cloth from Walmart and putting around your body. That anybody can do. A lot of people do that just to get some attraction, some attention. That is not sannyasa. Sannyasa means to be detached from the worldly activities. If you're still wearing the saffron cloth and then still attached to all the worldly activities, that is not sannyasa. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duty as Kshatriya, he is requested or advised to persevere. Persevere means to persist, not give up. Even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. I'm sure none of us want to fight with our brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts. But here, that is exactly what Krishna is asking Arjuna to do. Fight, because they have broken dharma. What is the dharma thing? One, of course, they stole the property of Pandavas. But most important thing in Krishna's book is Draupadi's clothes were removed in public. That he said was unacceptable. So all these people deserve to be killed. So kill them, Arjuna. Just kill them. Because they broke dharma. Okay, let's move on. Nasato vidyate bhavo.
Nasato vidyate bhavo.
Na bhavo vidyate satah.
Na bhavo vidyate satah.
Ubayorapi drishto antas.
Ubhayorapi drishtontas.
Tva anayostatva darshibihi.
Tva anayostatva darshibihi.
So I wanted to make a point, and there is a little cartoon in my presentation that my wife gave to me. I'll show you this. So, because Draupadi was being disrobed in the public, Krishna said, kill everybody, right? But what about people who are disrobing themselves voluntarily? That is the state of Kali Yuga. In the previous yugas, that was not the case. You see this? Next time you come to this is my area, don't come to my area, beggar is saying. And this girl is with all the torn jeans. She is also looking like a beggar. So this is voluntarily disrobing. Draupadi was disrobed, and here nowadays, modern days, people are voluntarily disrobing. So coming back to this translation, those who are seers of truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. Means, material body, there is no endurance. We are already seeing it. Our hair is falling. Our wrinkles are developing in the face. Back pain, leg pain, this pain, that pain. And once you cross like 50, 45, 50, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, all this nonsense. So because the body, there is no endurance. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. So Krishna is saying, soul never changes, body always changes. So even scientists agree with this point that every 7 years, all the cells in your body die and you get new cells until about 30 years old. After 30, if 100 cells die, only 97 are replenished. After 40, 100 cells die, only about 70 odd cells replenish. After 60, 100 cells die, only about 45 get replenished or come back. So at the point of death, no cells are getting replenished. The body doesn't have capacity anymore to get brand new cells. That is called death. And the soul, poor thing, what will it do? It will say, okay, this body is useless. Let me quit and get a new body. Right? Nobody lives forever. That's why. The body will just give up at some point. It becomes too dirty, too contaminated, too many diseases. Then the soul will say, bye bye, my dear body, I'm going. I'll find a new body. That is if you are spiritually realized. If you're not spiritually realized, you'll hang on to the body till the last second. Like Sitaram Kesari, who was like Congress chief. He was like well into his 80s and 90s, and he would not give up his position as head of Congress. Congress means that Indira Gandhi's Congress. He was just hanging on till the last minute. So there are people like that too. I mean, they don't want to give up that stuff. But they are the sages, they say, okay, I will voluntarily give up anything to do with the body so that I can pursue higher things in life. Okay, I need a volunteer to read purport. Yeah, anybody? Don't be shy.
I'll read it, Prabhuji. There is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalist and the personalist. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self illuminated spiritual existence. The words existent and non existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel, living entities and the supreme personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme Being, understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature as it will be revealed in the seventh chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time.
Okay, thank you for that. So, a lot of good points here. So, this relationship is like that between the master and servant, and teacher and taught. And there is also one point around energy and energetic. So Krishna is the energetic and he has many energies. So Krishna and his energies are not different. In a way, this material world is also his energy. The Supreme has been accepted as origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. So what are the natural sequences? We have sun. Because of sun, we get some sunlight. Because of that, we have plants. Because the plants' growth, we get some crops. And we eat those crops. Right? So there's a series of emanations. So some are superior natural sequences and some are inferior. So superior natural sequences are things like his avatars, for example, planetary systems. For example, the sun. And inferior natural sequences are myself, like all of us, our bodies. And even when we go jogging, our body produces sweat. So that's also a consequence of us having a body. And after sweat, what happens? Bacteria come, viruses come. Now we are battling with a big virus called corona. So these are inferior sequences. So there are superior sequences and there are inferior sequences. This is a very wonderful point. One can understand nature of Supreme by study of oneself. So we want to be happy, correct? Anybody wants to be sad? Unless, of course, you are, psychopath or something like that. Rare corner cases. Nobody wants to be sad. Everybody wants to be happy. Same thing with the Supreme Lord too. He is like us and we are like him. So we are in his image. Like in the Bible, there is a saying, God made man in his image. So we are like him. And how does he look? He has 2 hands, 2 legs. He has 2 eyes. He has a flute. So many things. And he feels happy when devotees praise him, glorify him, do aarti for him. And you also the same. Don't you like when your friends and neighbors praise you, when your relatives praise you? Yeah, we're all like God. Of course, we are not 100% like God. We are like 64% like God, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita. And advanced avatars like Rama is like 94%. Shiva is like something like 88%. They're rough figures I'm giving. Exact figures you can find in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can understand God by understanding yourself. Do you want to be gloomy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Why? Because we are part and parcel entities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is a difference between the part and parcel. Part means like if you have a car has 20,000 parts. And if some key parts fall off in the highway, your car will come to a standstill. It cannot go forward. For example, if you have the belt, timing belt breaks, your car will not even move forward an inch because there is no energy being passed from the internal combustion engine to the gearbox, from there to the wheels for the car to move forward. The belt is broken. What are you going to do? So, and also there are one important point, impersonalist and personalist. So if you look at the traditional world, everybody belongs to one of these 2 classes. Impersonalist means they broadly believe in God is energy. That's it. And personalists believe in God is a person, and so this is a Boolean and. Boolean and for computer scientists means this and that. God is a person and God has energies. So we need to understand these points. In just one purport, we collected how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points already. So personalists, impersonalists believe God is energy. So God is everywhere, which is true. God is everywhere, but personalists believe, and this is the correct understanding actually, personalist understanding, that God is a person and God has energies. So impersonalists only have 50% understanding of God. Less than that actually, around 40% understanding. Whereas the personalist has 100% understanding. Body is ever changing and soul is eternal. This is like kind of the crux of Bhagavad Gita. If you understand this, everything else follows. If you refuse to understand this, then everything else will be troublesome, because this is the crux. This is the basis, like the hypothesis, right? So with this hypothesis, everything else falls into place. If you disagree with this hypothesis, so you have this concept, right? Null hypothesis in statistics and alternate hypothesis. So this is the null hypothesis. If you disagree with this, nothing else will fall into place. So we have to at least theoretically understand that body is ever changing, which you know already, right? Body is changing. Like let's do some research on internet. Number of cells dying every day. Let's see what comes. I've not done this test before, so I don't know. Every hour, 180 million newly formed red blood cells enter the bloodstream. Look at that number. Mind-boggling. Every hour. And then, how many cells are dying? Between 30 and 40,000 fall off every hour from our skin. So a lot of cells are also dying. How many, my math for how many cells? These are all like, pseudo scientists, right? These are not perfect scientists, but they have some understanding of it. They say it is, how much is this? Units, tens, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 10 billion. 25 billion cells are dying every hour. Give or take maybe a billion, right? There is always margin of error in any experiment. And according to Wikipedia, 50 and 70 billion cells die each day. So Wikipedia says 50 to 70 billion. This scientist says 25 billion. So give or take, right? Maybe it is somewhere between 10 and 100 billion cells die for an average adult. Wikipedia is crowdsourced, so more people are actually contributing to it. So I will take it as a better source. So many cells are dying every day, and so many cells are getting replaced. So when the replacement cells are not matching with the dying cells, that is called death, right? So parts of the body are also dying, in case you did not know. My mother had a stroke last weekend. So her right hand, right leg work, left hand and left leg don't work. At least she's alive. So they are doing physical therapy to bring it up. So what happened? The signals, motor signals from the brain are not getting passed to the left hand and left leg. So some cells have died in the brain, essentially. So what happens? The body is very interesting entity. So there will be some rewiring of these ganglions or whatever they are called, ganglions and ganglions. And then after some time, she'll get partial motor control. Means she'll be able to lift her hand by thinking. She'll say, okay, I want to lift my hand. And then the left hand goes up. For us, we take it for granted. So never take anything for granted. I'm seeing it firsthand with my mother, that even a small little thing that happens to the brain will impede motor control in your body. Right? So we should not take anything for granted. So don't assume automatically the hand will work till the last day of your life, or automatically leg will work. So many things can happen between now and then. One of my other friend, he is suffering from urinary tract problems. So he wants to get surgery done. He's in Sammamish also like me, Sam Washington. And there are no beds available. Guess why? Why are there no beds available? All beds are taken away by corona patients. So no beds available. He is in deep pain, but no availability. So don't assume that if you are a billionaire, automatically you'll be cured of any disease. Huh? There should be a bed available. There should be a non-crazy doctor performing surgery, because some of these crazy doctors, we heard these stories, right? They sometimes leave a spatula or a scissors inside the body and then sew it back. Later on, they do X-ray. They find, hey, doctor, I found this little scissors in the body. Right? So you should have a bed. You should have a non-crazy doctor. You should have adequate blood available on the day of surgery for your blood group. There's so many factors. Money alone is not sufficient. Right? Ultimately, mercy of the God is important. Nothing else will be adequate for us in life. We have to come to that conclusion. So body is ever changing and soul is eternal. So we should come to this conclusion, this null hypothesis. At least theoretically, you should accept it, and then practically you should measure it. So one of these practical measurement is, you don't have to go and get a 5-year medical degree. Just Google it or Bing it. And then you'll get some plus or minus some 30% error. You'll get some values. So our cells are dying. So we have to do something about it. You cannot control the death of the body. Right? Srila Prabhupada said, he said this when? 1966. We are in 2021. So that is how many years there? 34 years there and 21 years. So 55 years ago, he wrote this. And even then, scientists were talking about these different cells dying on a daily basis. When I was growing up, I didn't know it was such a big number, like 50 billion cells dying every day. Right? So body, what is Krishna saying? How long ago did Krishna say this? Anybody know?
5,154 years ago.
Yeah, that is Usually we loosely say 5,000 years ago, but we have been saying 5,000 years ago since middle of last century. So we have to add these other years to it to come to the correct number. So what is Krishna saying? Nasato vidyate bhavo. Na means never, right? Sometimes in Rajasthan people say, ye hoga kya? Na. They say na. Na means never. Nasato asat. Asat means non-existent. Right? So there is no non-existence of the soul, but there is non-existence of the body, because body will only stay maximum 100 years. Once in a while you'll hear a story, somebody in China, they only eat rice and they lived for 121 years. That's because they only eat rice. But we eat all this nonsense, right? We eat so many different kind of things that are produced with pesticides and GMO. So we are lucky if we make it to 70. In my family, only my grandfather made it to 82, but everybody else, they're passing out much earlier than that. So this material body is non-existent. That's for sure. Our great-grandfather died. For some of us, our grandfather has died. So we know that everybody dies, right? So once there was a scientist, he was saying, I'm a statistician. And in statistics, there is this thing called probability. And based on probability, maybe I'll live forever. And after some time, that scientist also died. So the probability didn't help him. What is probability end of the day? You're just looking at flipping a coin in the air. 50% heads, 50% tails. So that is 50-50, Pyarkavada. So he is saying that there is 50% probability of success, 50% probability of failure in anything. So how can this probabilist or scientist live forever? No way. He has to die. At some point, the probability will catch up to him. So any thoughts on this one? This is like very, very important, because by understanding that we are not the body is the most important thing for spiritual progress. If you think you're the body, then you will do things on a bodily platform. Thoughts, comments, protests? We just saw a huge protest. So maybe you can also protest against me. So, okay, let's do a survey. How many people think after we die, everything gets finished?
Me too, Prabhu.
Huh? Anybody think that after at the point of death, everything?
Yeah, because we don't have bodily thinking, nothing will be there afterwards, and soul alone will be there, which will be carried over to the next life. So, with all these physical senses and whatever thinking we are having with the mind and brain, whatever our full-fledged thinking, we will lose everything, right, Prabhuji, afterwards?
Yes. We will lose everything, but what happens? The soul will carry three things. That's a good point. So at death, soul will carry three things: mind, intelligence, and ahankar, also known as false ego. It will not carry your brain, because brain is what? Brain is just a bunch of dendrons and dendrites and some soft matter. So your brain will still be here only within the body. But there's something within the brain that gets carried away, and that thing is called the mind. So that mind will carry on to the next body. See, sometimes you see some dogs are very gentle and some dogs are very crazy. Why do you think that is the case? Any thoughts on that one? Why are some dogs gentle and why are some dogs crazy?
Some past karma
Not karma is, yes, I
that
agree with
maybe their
that.
mind remembers.
Yeah, but more than that, there is something about that got carried over to this body. What is that?
The mind may remember it.
Yes, the mind remembers. So if somebody is a general manager or vice president in Amazon in his last life, he'll be very ferocious, like that, as in a dog body. But if somebody is a school teacher teaching yoga, in the next life, she'll be very gentle in the dog's body. Wow, 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 like that. Both became dogs because of their karma. But one will be a ferocious dog and one will be a regular, soft, gentle dog. So that is very important to understand. At death, soul carries mind, intelligence, and false ego. These three things the soul carries. What happened to your brain? It's still there in the body. And when you burn it, in 1.5 hours, everything will be finished. My father-in-law passed away, and we took him to Hyderabad, Smashan Ghat, as they call it. So somebody, we paid what? Couple of $1,000. They bought the wood, they put it, then we put his body on top, and then my uncle lit the pyre, chiti. 1.5 hour, believe it or not, there was only ash on the ground. Everything got burnt. Right? The body that we take care of so nicely with Dove soap, with musk perfume, with so many nice things, eating cashew and pistachio. 1.5 hours, finish. Everything is finished. So all these little connections and everything gets finished. What gets carried over is mind, because mind is higher than the what?
Brain.
Brain, exactly. Did I tell you this last time? Research done by BBC. I don't know where I put it right now, but we'll find it. So according to British Broadcasting Company, they interviewed a bunch of scientists. They're journalists, right? So that's what they do. And they did a study. And what they found is mind is different than the brain. So brain
Prabhuji, we
is
talked
all these
last.
connections that I just talked about. The dendroids, the ganglions, the ganglions. But mind is something that sits on top of the brain. It's like the software, and this is the hardware. And it is running in memory. It is not running persisted to a hard disk. It is running in memory. So as soon as the computer gets shut off, what happens if you have something in memory? It goes away. Unless you persist it to a hard disk. So same thing. When the body dies, the mind has to leave along with the intelligence and false ego, along with the soul, into the next body. And if next body is not ready, what will happen to that individual? For example, some person, Obama, is destined to live till 84, but he commits suicide at 72. So between 72 and 84, what happens to Obama?
Lingers around.
Because according to his karma, or according to his, astrological chart, his next mother and father will conceive him 84 minus 72, 12 years later. This fellow committed suicide right now because he doesn't like Trump, for example.
So are those called spirits, Prabhuji? Like,
yeah, spirit,
soul is
ghost. He'll become
ghost,
a ghost.
yeah.
Right? Why? Because his future mom and dad haven't even got married. They are still in their, his dad is like 9 years old and his mom is only 6 years old. So how can he enter their womb? He ended his life prior, right? So he has to wait for 12 years as a ghost, so that his mom attains puberty, dad attains puberty, they get married, they, go through the process. And then after 9 months, Mr. Obama will be born as Mickey Mouse in their house. So these are very, very dangerous things actually. So, but then because he was the president of the United States in his past life, he will have a very different way of dealing with his colleagues and everything, right? He'll not be average. Then everybody will say, oh, my son, Mickey Mouse is so intelligent. So that's what happens. So mind is like a program that is running in cache. It's not running on the hard disk. So as soon as the computer shuts off, the body shuts off, there is no more mind. So that mind will take all of whatever its state was at that point, and along with intelligence and false ego, go with the soul. Wherever the soul goes, some ghosts are very good and some ghosts are very bad. You know this? It depends on what kind of ghost. Like, for example, if a Brahmin commits suicide, he becomes a Brahma Rakshasi. It's a different kind of ghost. And if a politician dies in a car accident before his normal stated end of time, he'll become a different kind of ghost, like that. So there are also various classifications. Because what will you do with that mind? It's not going anywhere. All those memories are there, right? And so what do? They try to find a weak human being and enter through their mouth and take possession of that body. So this is all very scary stuff. But if you chant Hare Krishna, none of this will happen to us. So we should chant Hare Krishna. Because when there is Lord's protection, no extraneous living entities can enter. I mean, I've had this experience. When I walk near some buildings, I feel very strange and very bad feeling. And then when I walk in front of some buildings, like a temple, I feel very good. There is something unexplainable, right? So there could be some atmas floating around.
So, Prabhuji, other than natural death, everything is considered as an unnatural one,
Yeah, correct.
even like
Yeah, car accidents are considered unnatural. Natural death means you should gradually your body deteriorates and then you give it up.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So when sometimes when we say, right, I mean, like, we need to honor our parents or do pinda pradhan on the
Right.
yearly,
Right.
like, when they died or when they left this earth. So when I die, when I left this body, so I will go and I'll join somebody and some other, I will take over another body. Then whom I am actually doing this pinda pradhan? If my
Yeah.
body does not exist, if my soul is going and joining with or taking a birth in somebody else, then who am I doing this pinda pradhan?
Okay. Whose son are you? I mean, I don't want to say, I don't know if your father is alive or not, but hypothetically,
My, yeah,
let's
my father and what to say, my mother are no more.
okay.
Like,
Okay. That's it.
um,
Okay. Then we can talk more freely because I don't want living people
yeah,
to be associated with
yeah,
non-living people. So, say
yeah.
your father. So, whose son are you?
Uh, uh, like my dad's name is Pedalingaya.
Okay. So, you are Peddalinga as son. Till the day you die, you are still Peddalinga as son only, regardless of
Correct.
whether he went into his next body and maybe he left that next body and went into the following body. You are still
Mhm.
Peddalinga as son. And it is your
Correct.
duty to do Pinda Pradhan till the last day that you are on this planet.
Correct. I mean, my question is like, they say, right? I mean, like in the Puranas and everywhere, like every year on the Pinda Pradhan day, your father and your what to say, your grandfather expect something from you. That is like, that Pinda Pradhan.
Mhm.
So, like, if there is no body or if there is no soul, who is really expecting something out of me?
That is a very good question. Well, I have a very good answer for that too. Hopefully, a very good
Thank you.
answer. Okay. So, and what is your name?
Nagaraju.
Nagaraju. Okay. So, Nagaraju, son of Peda Lingaya, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did he pass away?
Sometime in yeah, 89 or so.
89. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Passed away 89.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is what the soul does. After it passes away, leaves the body, first the soul is put in temporary punishment. That is called
Okay.
hellish planets. There are 33 planets. Depending upon the type of sin he has done, he can go to one of these 33 planets or all 33 planets, depending upon what he has done, right? So there are
Hmm.
sins for eating meat, there are sins for, you know, having extramarital sex. There's so many things, right? So there could be, if the person was fairly okay, maybe he'll go to one hell for like 3 days and then go back. At that point, the soul is conditioned to enter next body by their guna plus their karma.
Mm.
So that's why it's always better to die in the mode of goodness or even higher than that. If we die in the mode of passion, we may become an animal or a bird. If we die in the mode of ignorance, we may become a tree. There's so many things. Usually in passion, we may come as a human being, but if we die in the mode of ignorance, guaranteed will become a tree or a plant or animal, bird, bacteria. If somebody is highly sinful, he may be assigned to the body of a bacteria with no hope, scope of doing any harm to anybody, right? So they just sit in one corner in the Amazon jungle because this fellow is so dangerous. So Mother Nature will put him in a body of where they cannot really do any more damage to anyone. You see the point? So Mother Nature is hyper optimization. She has some very good computational power. So the soul is conditioned to enter the next body. So if, for example, if somebody has eaten all kinds of nonsense in this lifetime, conditioned to go into a body of a pig, because pigs eat stool of animals, humans, and sometimes their own. They eat their own stool. That's how bad they are. So it depends, right? Conditioned to go into that. But if somebody is very pious, conditioned to go into body of a devata or demigod. And what do? They become a devata. They are in Swargaloka. And they enjoy a lot because they have done some very good karma. Lot of charity, lot of good activities, but they will not be liberated. Liberation is something else. And after they finish their devata quota, they'll again come back to earth. Krishna talks about that. We'll come to that in the 3rd or 4th chapter. Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. Right? So, and then what will happen? They may go to higher planets. Planets, not plants. And once they finish their pious karma, they take birth on earth. Again, there are two possibilities here once they come and take birth on earth. If they did pious activities for a long time, birth in a family of transcendentalist devotees. And this is also coming in the future chapters of Bhagavad Gita. I'm just giving you a sneak preview. Just like we do beta software, we give a sneak preview to some of the developers. If they did pious activities for a short time, then they take birth in a family a rich family with facilities for devotion. So for example, here, if you did pious activities for a very long time, you could take birth in a transcendental family like an Acharya family, right? So from day one, you are introduced to Krishna consciousness. I came to Krishna consciousness when I was 36. I mean, throughout the life, people were giving me books and telling me a little bit, but seriously, I came at 36 years. But if you are an Acharya family from day one, you'll have all these facilities, correct? So more benefit. And if you did pious activity a short time, you are born in a family with facilities for devotion so that you can restart devotion, I would say. And the verse for this in Sanskrit is Suchinam Srimate Gehe Yogo Brashta Pajayate. So if your yoga, the process of devotion gets brashta, brashta means broken, then you enter into one of these two families. It's coming in the Bhagavad Gita later on. We are still in chapter 2. We have a long way to go. So, to your question, you are son of Pedalingaya. You have to give respect to him till the point you die. He may have gone 2, 3 lifetimes. Maybe he went into a body of Devata, or maybe he went into body of an animal. Then he became a Devata. Then he took birth again, and maybe he is in uh, ISKCON Portland attending Bhagavad Gita classes right now in a different body. Right? But you don't worry about that. You do your
Okay.
job of giving him respects for Pinda Pradhan.
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, like, definitely, we will. I will honor that one. My question was like, I used to hear that, they expect us from here, like, which means if I'm like in my previous, what to say, journey, if I am some X person, if I am father to some Y person, but how do I know that I'm really expecting out of that Y person in from my previous life?
Okay, I have an answer for that too. Okay, X passed away. X is
Correct.
expecting Pinda from Y. Y gives Mahaprashadam as Pinda. X leaves ghostly body and takes birth in devotee family. So you have done your job. He's no longer expecting, because he's already has a devotee family as its place where he can continue to practice his devotion to Krishna. So your job
Okay.
is done. Therefore, you have to do your job. What is your job? To give prasadam, mahaprasadam as pinda for your forefathers.
Forefathers. Okay.
Yeah, your job is done. It's not like you'll be there forever trying to worry about him. You have done your job. I mean, because, but we don't know for his purification how long it will take. So you have to do it till you are alive, and then your son will do, and your grandson will do, and then in the meantime, if you pass away, he will do for you, for your father, and his father. So usually it is not just for you, your parent that you're doing. You're doing for your
Correct.
entire
Correct.
gotra. That's why the pujari
Correct.
will ask you, what is your gotra? You will say Achyuta gotra or Pamudipala gotra or Janakula gotra. So essentially, you are doing it for all of your forefathers. And what is your
Correct.
connection to that forefather parampara? Is through your fathers. That's why they just say, Janakula Gotra, Peddalingaya, this, and then they will ask you to do the Tarpanam. But then it goes from your father to his father to his father to his father, like that. The whole chain continues.
Quick follow-on question, Prabhuji.
Yes,
So in India, we kind of know that this is how we should do it. So when you say Pinda Pradhan, it is like Pitra Paksha, right?
right,
Every year, the sons are supposed to do Shradham for the ancestors.
correct.
So a lot of people in America, they don't even understand all these things. So what happens to folks that don't do this? What happens to the ancestors of those people?
They go here. Why are you doing Pinda Pradhan? To save your ancestors from going to hellish planets. So they are at a great misfortune if nobody is doing for them. And then they are conditioned to enter the next body. But why do you think all this Vedic system is there? To prevent your forefathers from suffering unnecessarily. Yes, they have made some mistakes, but as a descendant in that, just like Sagara, he goes to which loka? He goes to underground, right? To get, not underground, he goes to get the Ganges water so that his 60,000 forefathers are liberated. You know this story? The 60,000 forefathers
Bhagirath.
go, the horse, the Ashwamedha Yajna horse, goes and takes shelter at a rishi. So these people go and in a taunting manner, they talk to the rishi. Rishi opens his eyes, 60,000 people burn to ashes. So this Sagara goes and invites Ganga Devi to come down. You remember the story? Yeah, so
Yeah,
somebody
Prabhuji.
has to do it. Some descendant will be expected to do all this. So suppose you now take up this process seriously and you get liberated, 14 generations before you will get liberated simultaneously. But if you are a pure devotee, 21 generations get liberated before you. So it is your duty to protect your forefathers by taking up to the devotional service. So that is what I am hoping, because my father didn't really do a whole lot of these things. He used to do at some point, but then he gave it up along the way, things like that. So it is my duty as a son to ensure that he's also liberated along with me. If I get liberated, 14 generations will get liberated. So I like once I went to a smashan ghat, one other of my relative died, and I was asking the pujari. So, because the person who died didn't have kids. So somebody else did the, final rites for him. I said, then what will happen? This person didn't have anything. Then he was telling me the story. So a lot of people are waiting in hellish planets for some, they were hoping some descendant will come and rescue them. And if one descendant does not do that, sorry, they'll say, oh, this fellow is useless. We had false hopes on this fellow. He didn't liberate us, or at least give us a human body. And then the next generation comes. That fellow does some very good puja and he becomes a pure devotee. Then they will say, wow, look at that person. He's so great. He not only liberated himself, but he got us out of this ghostly condition for us. So it is our duty to, improve ourselves and also improve our forefathers. It's a very, very, intricate science. So usually there are more ghosts in the West than in the East because they don't burn their bodies, right? So the ghosts are hanging around the graveyards and the, these big mansions where they used to live, things of that sort. Usually there are more ghosts here. But then if you chant Hare Krishna and then you recite Narsimha prayers, they go away. They don't trouble you, they'll go trouble the next guy. So that's why for Loka Kalyanam, from time to time, acharyas come and say, we want the entire world to be liberated. So they give this knowledge. And some follow, some don't follow. But even if the other people help the people who are following, they get some sukruti, ajnata sukruti. And maybe in one of the following lifetimes, they may take up to devotion. There are stories about Swami Prabhupada traveling in a flight. So there was this one air hostess, as they used to be called, and now they are called flight attendants. So this air hostess, she asked Prabhupada, what would you like to eat? He said, I don't eat anything cooked outside because I'm in this process of devotion. So she said, eat something. He said, okay, I'll have fruit. So she cut some fruit and gave it to Swami Prabhupada. And the story goes, 22 years later, some devotees went to her home to give a Bhagavad Gita. She said, yeah, come in. And then she said, yes, I am already praying to Lord Krishna. She's a Western lady. I'm already praying to Lord Krishna. Here are my pictures. And they asked her, how? Yeah, I don't know how, but I just got attracted. So that is called Ajnata Sukruti. If you serve an Acharya sometime in your life, because of that Sukruti, you get that blessing, benediction to get to the devotional life. And so now because of her forefathers, her 14 generations will be in a better situation. They may not get liberated right away, but they will take birth in devotee families so that they can continue. So the 8 or 9 people on this call, we must have done some silly little thing for some acharya in one of our previous lifetimes. We have done something, otherwise we would not be here. Because on the first day, 74 people registered, 30 odd people came, but only 9 people left. So excluding me, only 8 students are left. So you must have done some sukruti to be able to understand this knowledge and assimilate it and practice it. Right? Others, they could not withstand it. They got kicked out. Not that I kicked them out because I'm just on Zoom, but something or the other came, and like if somebody is highly sinful, right? Even if we want to give them this knowledge, some or the other, they cannot take it up. They'll just kick. Something or the other will come. Something or the other will come and they will not be able to take this process. So we should thank our previous lifetimes, Sukruti, that we are able to understand this knowledge so that we can practice in this lifetime and hopefully go back to the spiritual world. So not everybody can get this. And then because we got this great knowledge, we should help other people. Like you can help your family members, neighbors, friends, give them a Bhagavad Gita, call them for these kind of discussions. Each one of you should bring one of your friend for these sessions. That is the only contribution to Krishna that you can give. So suppose if you give $10 donation, Krishna will say, what's so great about that man? I gave you $100, you are giving me $10 back. So when you give a donation to the Lord, he is pleased, but not very pleased. Because that belongs to him anyways. But when you bring a new soul to his feet, lotus feet, his shelter, he feels very happy. Here is a soul that is not only interested in me, but is helping other people. That's what acharyas do. They bring other souls to the sharan or shelter of Krishna. I mean, yeah, if you give some donation, okay, he's a little pleased, but he's more pleased if you build big temple for him. He's even more pleased if you bring a soul to him, say, teaching that soul the futility of material life and how we can go back to the spiritual world. That knowledge is higher than any knowledge. Like if I teach you physics and chemistry, you may get a job, maybe a 100K job to take care of your family. That's about it. But if I teach you how to get liberated, then you will never have to take birth again and never have to apply for a job. Right? All this headache of undergraduate degree, getting a visa, working here, there, getting green card, all this headache won't be there in the next life because you don't need it. You'll be liberated. So this knowledge is more important than material knowledge. Material knowledge is important. You need to, earn some money, right? To live on this planet. But more important knowledge is this one. So while doing your material activities, we need to think of how to liberate ourselves and how to help at least one soul. It doesn't have to be, you are not like Ramanujacharya to bring 2000 souls. You should bring at least one soul who can take this process up and you get the credits. So Krishna operates on credit system. He says, he brought one soul for 4 credits. He brought 2 souls, 8 credits. 3 souls, all of a sudden mathematics changes, 20 credits. He brought 10 souls, 1000 credits. So it keeps on, the positive credits keep on increasing till at one point Krishna says, yes, I think he has worked hard enough for me to bring my children back to me. So I'll award him liberation. So just by focusing on yourself, you are being selfish. But if you focus on saving other souls, then you are magnanimous. So Krishna will be very pleased with you, right? That is why I'm teaching this class, by the way. That's the secret I'm letting out. Because if I focus on my own chanting, Krishna will not be that pleased. But if I teach this knowledge to others so that others can benefit, Krishna will be more pleased with me. Of course, as I said, we are not great acharyas. So we can only help 5, 6, 7 people in our lifetime. That's about it. So thoughts, comments?
Thank you for explaining on that Pitru Paksha thing, Prabhuji. Yeah, I understand now why.
Yes, Mataji, you were saying?
Prabhuji, that's the thing. Like, I have called in a couple of friends, and I mean, again, as you know, you might have seen so many falling off. So we keep approaching people, like we are trying a lot to bring in our in-laws, at least read a verse on their own. They live back in India.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it doesn't interest them. Like, we keep trying to tell with whatever knowledge we have that you have seen enough, like 60, 62, 63. now it is the time to, understand this process, and somehow I mean, that's where I like to, I try to understand that, definitely it is about karma. Somewhere we are coming into this in relatively younger stage than where parents are. But do you have some advice of how we can approach more? Um, because I definitely want my friends and relatives to, mostly my brother and sister, to also acknowledge this. Um, they did come to couple of classes, but but priorities are like, the priority is changing for them than being this as a priority.
So priorities are defined for material progress, right? Obviously, somebody will say, I'm preparing for this examination, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So it is not easy to change their mind overnight, right? So what you can do, there are various things like cook nicely for Krishna, offer the cooked food as bhoga, take the prasadam and give it to them. So, and again, for some prasadam works very quickly, for some it does not work. For some it may take 6 months, for some 15 years. I've been telling my brother for 15 years to take up to this process, 15 years. And for last 3 months, he started coming to my classes. And now my mother is not feeling well, so he went to India and he's asking mom to chant. He's saying Hare Krishna Chapu, Hare Krishna Chapu, and he's now teaching to our mom, joint mom. But how long did it take? 15 years. So now he is preaching to others. You see the point? So for some, it may take 45 years. I know one doctor couple which comes to Samamish temple. I came to the Hare Krishna process 18 years ago, and they have been coming 10 years before me. So 18 plus 10 is 28 years. Still no movement. No movement. Why? Because they are medical doctors. They believe in science more than in paranormal. For them, this is some kind of a paranormal phenomenon. Right? So now how do you crack this thing? One of the best ways to do it is our behavior will transform others, not our words. So suppose you will say, hey, why don't you come to the temple? Then the person will say, I have known you, assuming your name is Malati, I'm just making this up. Malati, I've known you for 35 years. For 33 years, you never showed any interest, and suddenly you are pushing me in this direction. So should I believe the first 33 years or the last 2 years? So preaching to relatives is the toughest. They know how nonsensical we were. Yes or no? So all of a sudden now you are becoming a
This is
preacher.
this is a very true statement, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes.
All of a sudden, if you are saying, they will think that, okay, now he is becoming a ISKCON guy. That's why he is asking us to come to the temple, and they make us a ISKCON guy. I mean,
Correct,
like, that's
correct.
what, the lot of people will think that way.
Yeah. Again, we are not ISKCON guys. We are Krishna
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's what, the locum, the the world calls us. Oh, now he's associating too much with ISKCON or Krishna. So now he's approaching us to come ask us to come to the temple or do this, do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen that.
So my wife's father's younger brother. So obviously very close relative. He has seen the ups and downs in our family and all that. For 15 years we have been asking, and now slowly he's showing some interest in this process. So it takes time. So time is your friend. But our job is to first take care of yourself, right? And help others in the process. Yeah, we are not ISKCON people. We are Krishna's people. Everybody,
Krishna,
all
yeah.
8 billion people are Krishna's people. Some people have knowledge of him. Some people don't have knowledge. So we are trying to give them some knowledge. That's all it is. So while you are take help from seniors. Like when you are on a mountain trekking, and if the mountain becomes very steep, the guy on the top will give you a hand to pull you up. And you are pulling up the guy below you. In this way, there is a human chain. But ultimately, the guy on the top knows what he's doing. Otherwise, everybody will fall. So everybody is helping somebody. They are taking help from somebody, and they are giving help to somebody else. That's all you can do. I mean, you are not like Ramanujacharya or Madhvacharya to just look at them and say one verse from Bhagavad Gita, and that fellow will fall at your feet. It's not possible. We are just ordinary human beings, right? So don't worry. Don't worry about if others don't listen. If your behavior is good, and they will observe you, right? So right now we are all under observation. People are observing us. Arey, what is this fellow? I thought he has interest in cricket. Suddenly he's talking about God and chanting and all this other hi-fi stuff. Did is easy like mentally stable? Dimag kharab ho gaya iska? They are thinking like that about us. But if you persist, they will turn around. My brother turned around. As I said, I was trying to teach him, he won't listen. But now he's not only listening, but he's teaching other people also. So initially they will think, actually, Mahatma Gandhi is one of the statement. Initially, they will laugh at you. Then they will hear you. Then they will join you. When Gandhi was trying to do freedom, nobody first listened. They said, oh, what is this man wearing a dhoti, talking about ahimsa, cow protection? What is this fellow going to do to us? British never took him seriously. Then they started taking him seriously. Then millions of people started joining Gandhi. They got afraid. So they will join you. You have to just persist for 15, 20, 30 years if they are still alive. So usually this is this is biased towards the young. As you grow older, your body will not really have the energy to do these devotional practices. So, again, at least if they chant a few times this lifetime, next lifetime, hopefully they'll take it from where they left off and continue their journey. That's all you can. And you can pray for them. You have to pray for them. You have to say, pray intensely. Krishna, here is a soul struggling in the material world. Please have mercy on him or her. You pray intensely. Krishna is Swarat. He can do anything if he likes your prayer. So you can, as I said, you are not a great acharya that you will convert anybody in one shot. It takes time. Time is your friend. And prayer helps. Like, one of my colleague was saying his father, was very bad, drinking, cards, this and that. So he's brought his father once to some Amish temple. And then his father saw his son, and his father slowly started chanting along with his son. Son was doing 16 rounds. After a while, father was doing 32 rounds of japa. And they all went on a pilgrimage to Jagannath Puri. He was climbing the stairs to Jagannath Puri, and with full vision of Jagannath, he passed away. And the people in Jagannath Puri told his son, my friend, we will not give his body. He's a great saint. So they made a big fuss about giving his body back. They said, he's a great saint. We will take care of his body. He's not your family member. He's ours because he passed away in the temple. So a person who was alcoholic and playing, gambling, transformation, 180 degrees. Son is only chanting 16 rounds. Father is chanting 32 rounds. And he dies in front of Jagannath. What glorious way to leave the body, right? It's just like they show in the movies, like some Panduranga Vithala, the devotee singing the glories of the Lord, and he suddenly falls down, and the soul goes and, goes to the abode of the Lord, like that. So dramatic things happen like that. So you just have to pray for the other person. Magical things will happen for the other person and for you also. So we have to pray. You pray, magic will happen. Krishna is not a rock, right? He's not a stone. He's a person. So when you pray with feeling and emotion, he will reciprocate. The problem we have is we don't have feeling. Our heart has become like a desert right now.
Food habits are also a major obstacle, Prabhuji.
What do you mean?
Many families eat non-vegetarian food. So suddenly to give it up is very difficult.
Not difficult. I used to eat non-vegetarian. I ate non-vegetarian in 13 countries. I traveled to every country and I would try the non-vegetarian dish in that country. I gave it up 6 months. I came to Samamish temple. They told me non-vegetarian is bad. They said chanting is good. I started chanting. One day I sat at dining table with non-vegetarian. I looked at it and said, what am I eating? This is trash. So I threw it in trash and never touched it again. So you should be convinced that there is something higher. Then you will give it up. It's not, what is non-vegetarian? A dead animal, right? A dead, rotting animal. That's what non-vegetarian is. If I can give up, anybody can give up. As I said, I used to be the food aficionado. Sweden, Denmark, France, Germany. I used to live in Germany. Belgium. I traveled all these countries to eat different kinds of non-vegetarian before coming to Krishna consciousness. So it's not difficult. You know the story of Bilvamangal Thakur?
Prabhuji,
Bilvamangal Thakur used to go to a prostitute regularly. So one day there was a big tufan, hurricane. And in that hurricane, he crossed the river. He thought it was a boat, it was a dead body floating. So he sat on that dead body and he crossed the river in the dark. He didn't know whether it was a boat or a dead body. Then there was the compound wall around the prostitute's home. So there was a rope hanging from the tree. He held on to that rope and he climbed, crossed over the compound wall. Later on, he found that was not a rope, it was a snake. So he basically used the snake to cross over. He went inside. Then the prostitute saw his condition and said, "Why did you come?" He said, "I came for you." He said, "Are you foolish? You came in middle of this huge tufan, you could have been dead. He said, yeah, but I like you so much. I like your body. So the prostitute said, if you had the same interest that you have in my body towards Lord Krishna, you'll be liberated. So the prostitute was his first guru. So he got ashamed of his, bad habits. So he, paid respects to the prostitute as a guru. Then he started chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and various other mantras, and he became a big acharya. So your past is not a stumbling block for the future. You can have a pretty bad past, but if you do it properly, you can do it. Yeah. Mataji, you had a question?
Yes, I was just saying that one other thing I have heard people say that comes in the way of their bhakti is also that when you read these books, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, you see that they mention women are less intelligent and they need to be sheltered or they need to be protected. So maybe that is one of the other thing that also dissuades them, because today everybody is like women, feminism, women empowerment and all that.
Yeah, but women like Kunti gave this knowledge. If you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, women like Kunti gave this knowledge to others. So Kunti Devi is a guru too. How can you deny that fact? Right? So if you look Srimad Bhagavatam, women like Kunti gave this knowledge to others. Yes, women need shelter. Even men need shelter. Who said only women need shelter? Women need shelter, men need also shelter.
So when we look at chapter 1, there is verse 40 where in the purport it is said that women are less intelligent, and Chanakya also says that, etc.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, my daughter, she found some course online. She paid $2,000 using my credit card, or maybe her debit card, but it was my money, to learn some e-commerce. The same thing is available on YouTube for free. And then I asked her, why did you pay so much? She said, I didn't know. Then I said, you should have asked me. So as a child, women should be dependent on her father. As a husband, women should be dependent on her husband. As a wife, women should be dependent on her husband. Because if women is out there in the open, then everybody will try to take benefit or exploit that woman. As a mother, woman should be dependent on her son. Right now, my mother is in a helpless state and my brother went to help her in India. So women always need shelter. There's nothing feminism or masculinism about it. Men also need shelter, but men usually are a little bit more physically rough and tough, so they take more pain. So women, according to Chanakya Pandit, she should be under protection of her father, husband, or son. There's nothing wrong with what Chanakya Pandit said. So there is nothing to do with feminism. Like, if you really look at feminism, America never had a female president, whereas India had a female prime minister back in the 60s. So America is supposed to be a more advanced country, right? How come they don't have a women president till today? Because it's based on who is available to be a president at that point, what are their capabilities, that's about it. So yeah, that should not dissuade people from becoming a devotee. Kunti Devi is a great woman. Why don't you follow her? She gave us this knowledge. Prayers of Queen Kunti. Go and read in 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that should not be an excuse. And again, if you are a soul, you are neither a woman nor a man. You're a soul. Soul is neither gender agnostic. You know this? Soul doesn't have a gender. Only Krishna is the Adi Purusham, and everybody else is a female. Actually, I am also a female in the spiritual world. I'm not a male. Right now, I have a male body, male voice. But when I go to Krishna Loka, I'm a female. There's only one Purusha. Everything else is Prakriti. And we are marginal energy. So we are not women or men. So yeah, that people have to, take a little bit of criticism, give this knowledge an opportunity to penetrate our consciousness, then everything makes sense. But if people live in the first, confusing aspect, then they have not given this knowledge a chance, right? Like, your kid goes to school, he says, "Mommy, homework बहुत मुश्किल है, very difficult." Do you say, "ठीक है बेटा, घर पे बैठो, पढ़ाई छोड़ दो, don't study anymore"? Will you say that? No, 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 I will help you with the homework. Please, Kana, you have to study, otherwise, how will you get a job? You have to somehow or the other convince the child to study, right? You don't give up on your kid. Same thing here. These are all, initial excuses. But if people, persist despite all these initial roadblocks, then they will enjoy this actually. I am enjoying this so much thoroughly. That's why I teach Friday evening, Saturday evening, and Sunday. 3 days a week I teach. 4 days a week I do work for my office. So it is possible to overcome these obstacles. These are all obstacles. See, if there is something important, right, would it be easy to get into IAS? Is it easy in India? So many obstacles, so much filtration. Same thing here also. It is not easy. You just have to show that you have the metal in you. देखे जरा तुझमें कितना है दम. So Mayadevi is saying, let me see how much stuff you have, man or woman. Let me see how much stuff you have. So we have to, proportionately show Mother Durga that, yes, I am serious, my dear lady. Mother Durga is a lady, by the way. She's not a male, right? So how can you say women are? No, in general, just like in the case of my daughter, when there are free YouTube videos available, why do you spend $2,000 for a silly e-commerce course? Same thing. So women in general are more trusting. If somebody tells them something, they will believe it. That because their nature is to be calm, gentle, sweet voice. Men don't have sweet voice. And they give babies. Can I give a baby? No. So we have roles and responsibilities. Women give babies. Men have to do other things, like taking the trash out and putting it for the truck guy to come. So we have our distinct responsibilities. And clean the toilets. So men should do that. Does that answer your question, Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So don't think of yourself as inferior to anybody.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Think I am a soul. I want to go back to my father Krishna. Done. And spiritual world, everybody is a woman, guaranteed. Have you seen pictures of Krishna? There'll be one Krishna in the middle and there'll be 20 girls dancing around him. So where are all the other men? No, there are no men there. We are all women. So it's only in this material world we have these roles. Okay, we'll stop there. It's been late. So see you all next week. So because it's late, I won't do the chanting today. So you can do on your own. Let's just do one round, one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare